Today we're going to practice writing an essay about brain chemistry, and then we're going to do the speaking section as well. Go down to the slide that says writing section. So the writing section takes approximately 45 minutes. Your essay should be 1.5 to 2 pages long. They will tell you to always write 1 page at least, okay? That would be 1 page single spaced. If you're going to double space, double the length, okay? But 1.5 to 2 pages. Don't worry about how many words you're writing. They don't count the words. They don't care about word count. What they care about is you have 1.5, maybe 2 pages, and you've got 3 or 4 or 5 paragraphs. That's what they're going to look for. So the topic for your essay is given to you at the beginning of the test. This is important. It's usually on the first page. If you look from last week, sorry, can I borrow your question book from last week? Okay. So remember this one from last week, the one that says practice, complete practice test? On page 1, you will see there's a lot of information. Most of this information is just instructions. How long is the exam? What do you do first, second, third? But at the very bottom of the page, you will see a sentence, or a question in this case. This one says, how does an understanding of brain chemistry help doctors work with people who have personality disorders? That is your essay question, okay? So they will give you the essay question at the very beginning of the exam. It's a good idea to read this question so that you can think about it when you're doing the reading and the listening. But that's what we're going to write about today, is that question. Some things to know about the writing. Usually the essay questions will ask you to compare and contrast, or to discuss advantages and disadvantages, agree or disagree. Sometimes they will ask you to give reasons, if the reasons are given, but it's usually discussing or comparing and contrasting is usually what you'll find. Okay, on to the next slide. You will see tips for the writing section. So this is on the top of page 3. Top of page 3, tips for the writing section. Very important, read the essay question at the beginning of the test. This will help you. As you answer your reading questions and answer the listening, highlight or flag or circle ones that you think might be useful for the essay. Just make a little note of it or put a star next to it so you know, come back to this question. This question might help you. Use the questions and the answers from the question book to help you write your essay. If you use the same wording that is in the questions, your grammar will be fine, right? You just use the wording they give you. So use the question words as much as you can to help you. Plan the structure of your essay before you write it. That's the first thing they ask you to do, is to spend a little bit of time and outline what are you going to do. Use transition signals and phrases. So, for example, in conclusion, first, second, third, in addition, those kinds of words. That will help you get higher marks. And then check your spelling and your grammar before you finish and hand it in. The next slide that has very, very, very small writing. It's called Tips for the Writing Section. Can anyone read it? Okay, don't worry. On your last page, that's what that slide is, okay? So the very last page of your handout, it's the same information, tips for the writing section. So this just goes over basic information about essay writing. Okay, so we'll just quickly review that. Basically, you're going to have a minimum of 3 paragraphs, but you might have as many as 5 paragraphs in your essay. First paragraph is always the introduction paragraph. In your introduction, you want to start with a general statement about the topic. So a general statement is something that everybody knows. It's not from the reading, it's not from the listening, it's common knowledge. Everyone in the world knows this. That's a general statement, okay? Usually you need 2 of these, 2, maybe 3 sentences. Depends on how much time you have, how long the essay is. I think usually 2 sentences is enough in a test situation like this. Then, number 2, you need a thesis. for your topic. So the thesis is an opinion, right? But whose opinion are you going to be giving? Is it going to be your opinion that you write about?
No.
No, this is something that's important for the Cael exam. They don't care about my opinion. They don't care about your opinion. They want to know, what was the opinion in the reading? What was the opinion in the listening? So when you're writing, you can give your own ideas as long as your idea agrees with the opinion of the researcher or the scientist or the doctor. Okay? So it's the thesis or the opinion from the reading or from the listening. Also, in your introduction, it's good if you can kind of give some hints about your organization. So if you're going to have 3 body paragraphs and each one is a different reason, you might want to say there are going to be 3 reasons so that they know, okay, this is your organization. And we'll practice this in today. So often when you write an essay in your thesis, you might say, in my opinion, blah, 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 blah. In academic writing, you should try to not use I or me or my. One way that you can do this is to use the word it. So if you look under the transition phrase, it can be seen that, blah, 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 blah. Okay, this is someone else's opinion, is what I'm going to tell you. Or many experts think that. Many scientists think that. Many researchers think that. Those are good ways to say the same thing as in my opinion, but just to make it more academic. So that's the introduction. Then you'll have some body paragraphs. Maybe it's 2, maybe it's 3. Each body paragraph should have a topic sentence and some supporting details, maybe some examples, depends on what information they gave you in the reading. Okay? So 3 or 4 sentences is enough, especially in an exam. Some transition phrases that you can use. If you're comparing and contrasting, you might want to say on the one hand, and the next paragraph on the other hand. Exactly. Or according to the article, according to the lecture, in the reading, in the lecture. Those are phrases that will help you get a higher score because it shows the examiners that you know how to take information from the reading or from the listening and put it into the essay. Okay, and then the usual ones, first, second, finally, for example, try and include some of those. Your last paragraph will be a concluding paragraph. Easiest way to write a concluding paragraph, to go back and look at your introduction. And in the introduction we had general, and then we had a thesis. You're just going to flip that, okay? And you're going to start with your thesis, or summarize your main points, and then go back out to some general statements. So rather than trying to think of some new creative things to say, in a test, go back to your introduction, look at what you said, just change the wording a little bit, but keep the same ideas, and that's okay. So number 1, you restate the thesis. Number 2, give some general statements. Often people will put a 3rd sentence in a concluding paragraph, and this is a suggestion for the future. So you might want to talk about, it is important that we blah, 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 blah. Okay, if you want people to do something. So we'll look at that when we do today's. Any questions you want to ask about the structure?
About the transition phrases, the introduction, future, and passive.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, those are good things to do.
Any extras?
Yes, yeah, if you want to use passive voice, that's another great way to make it more academic, because then you're not saying, in my opinion, you're changing it to a less active thing. So that's a great thing to do as well. Yeah, any other questions about the structure? No? Okay, so that's what that very, very small slide is. That's right down there. What we're going to do next is we are going to do some planning before we write our essay. So I'll give you the essay question papers that they would give you. It's just a bunch of empty paper for you to write on. it says writing section, you have 45 minutes to write an essay answering the following question. How does an understanding of brain chemistry help doctors work with people who have personality disorders? So this is what our essay needs to be about, is how does understanding brain chemistry help doctors to work with people who have personality disorders? It says use the information from the reading and the lecture to help you plan your essay. Sometimes you will find information in both reading and lecture that's useful. Other times, it's all from the reading or all from the listening. So this instruction is one that they put on all the tests. So don't worry if you say, I didn't hear anything that was useful. Today, we're only going to use stuff from the reading, and that's okay. It's an instruction that they always put on, but either is fine. If you can use stuff from both, that's great. But if the information is all from the reading, that's okay as well.
You have the reading passage when you are writing.
Yes, you do. Yes. They let you keep the materials when you're doing the essay. That's a good question. However, my advice is that you don't look at the readings when you're doing the essay. 2 reasons I say this. Number 1,
What's the time?
waste of time. You don't have time to go through and try to find again what was the information. Number 2, if you look at the reading, it's very difficult to write it in your own words. Because you read the sentence, 3 doctors said that blah, 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 blah. And your mind wants to write, 3 doctors said that blah, 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 blah. And then you will lose points because you should not copy exactly. So my advice is that you use the questions, this book, because this book has all the information you need, but it's easier to look through, so it'll be faster, and it's already been paraphrased a little bit. So when you write, if you change a little bit more, you don't have to worry about plagiarizing, but you get to keep those when you're writing the essay to help you. So that's their next point actually, is do not copy directly from the reading articles. So if you want to write 1 or 2 sentences exactly the same, you can, but you need to put quotation marks on them, okay? So be careful of that. We suggest that you spend 15 minutes planning your essay and 30 minutes writing it. If you wish to plan your essay, please do your planning on this page. So you should spend 30 minutes most of your time writing. I would not spend 15 minutes planning, because that leaves you no time to check your grammar and your spelling at the end. I would spend maybe 5 minutes planning at the beginning, 30 minutes writing, and give yourself 5 or 10 minutes at the end to quickly read through and see if your grammar and spelling are okay. So we are going to spend a little bit of time planning. Where you can do that is here. They don't give you any marks for doing this. So that's why I say I wouldn't spend a lot of time doing it, because it's not worth any points. However, if they see that you've done planning, right away they will think, this person understands how to write essays. And maybe they will have a better opinion of your essay before they read it. So I do think it's worthwhile to do a little bit, but I wouldn't do a lot of planning. What I would do is a very simple outline. So, I would write the words introduction, okay? I would put that on this paper, and then in my introduction, I'm going to have some general statements, and I'm going to have a thesis. Can anyone tell me, by reading the essay question, what is our thesis? They tell us the thesis in the question. Excellent. That's right, that's our thesis. Our essay is about how, but they've told us that the opinion that we're going to discuss is that doctors who understand brain chemistry can help treat people with personality disorders. So that's the thesis. So I might write that on the paper. I might say, so I would put introduction, general statement, thesis, and copy your thesis from the question that they give you. If you take out your questions from last week and look at the answers that we wrote for reading number 2. How many personality disorders did we read about? There were a few. How many personality disorders did we read about in reading number 2? Take a look at the answers. Particularly look at the charts that we filled out. 3, exactly. So, how many body paragraphs should we have? 3. That's the easiest thing to do, okay? So I would also write on this outline, body 1, body 2, body 3. What was the first personality disorder? Good. Impulsivity, yes. But that's all that I would write for my outline. I wouldn't give any more details. You don't have that much time. I would just write what is the main idea of this paragraph. What was the next personality disorder? Good. Emotional reactivity or sensitivity. And the last one? Anyone know how we say this one? Yeah. Eccentricity. Eccentricity. Often, the more common term that is used for people who are eccentric is they are a little bit crazy. That's the word we will often use, but eccentric is the medical term. So, I would write that, and then I would just write the word conversion. I wouldn't write anything else on the outline, because you don't have a lot of time, so I would keep it very simple. But it is useful to do because it helps you with your essay. It also shows the examiner that you know how to write an essay, you know the parts of an essay. Okay, any questions about what to do on this first page? If you feel really short and rushed, like really short on time and that you're very rushed, skip this part. There's no marks, okay? So, the next 2 pages they give you are pages to do the writing. What we're going to do first is I want you to look at the questions from last week, and I want you to try and identify which 2 questions are going to help you the most to find your information, okay? So feel free to work in a group at the table if you want. Look at the questions and try and see which 2 questions should you look at to help you write this essay. I think that's right. I don't have my sheet up here actually. You guys know the 2 charts? Perfect. So just look at the reading section. and find what 2 questions are going to be the most useful to help you answer the essay question. That's right, look at the charts. Those are often the ones you'll use. So for this one, we'll use those 6 and 7. Very good. Okay, so the 2 questions that are going to help you while you write are question number 6 and question number 7. Okay, so let's just look at question 6 again quickly. So question 6, they talked about 3 different personality traits or personality disorders. These were the 3 that we have listed up here, right? In the middle, it told us some of the problems that are happening in the brain for each of these traits. That's information that we're going to use. It also gives us some information about what's the behavior of people who have this personality disorder. So these are some details that we can use. Okay? Question number 7. This is also talking about the same 3 traits or personality disorders, but it's giving us more details about what is happening in the brain. What's the brain chemistry that's going on? So it's discussing something called neurotransmitters and methods used for measuring the level of neurotransmitters. Our essay question wants to know, how does understanding brain chemistry help the doctors? So we're going to talk about each of the 3 personality problems, but we're going to explain, how does understanding the brain help this problem? So we'll look at the last column in particular. Okay? That's going to be useful. So those are the 2 questions that you want to look at and think about while we are writing the essay. On your table, I've put some papers. This is a sample essay. What I want you to do is take a look and organize this. There should be an introduction, 3 body paragraphs, and the concluding paragraph. So take a look at those and see if you guys can put it in the right order. Easy, right? You didn't have to read it all? You ladies good? Yeah? Good? Good. So how did you do it so quickly? Because of the transition signal. This is why it's really important when you write your essay that you also use transition signals. It makes it faster for the marker. And if you use them, then they go, aha, they know how to write the structure of an essay, and that'll improve your score, okay? So, the first paragraph is our introduction paragraph. Take a look at that in some detail here. Okay. For a long time, personality was thought to be determined by early life experiences. This is just a general sentence, okay? You can put any sentence you want. What you want to have in this sentence is something about personality, or something about personality disorder, if you want to talk about the problem already. Now, however, researchers believe that biological and genetic factors play a significant role in personality and the development of personality disorders. If you take a look at question number 3 in the reading questions, question 3. says, what factors, other than early experiences, might contribute to the development of a personality disorder? And our answers were biological and genetic, right? So what I've done in these first two sentences is I've just used this information, right? Most people, if they say, why are you a happy person, or why is that person very angry? They would say, oh, well, you know, they have problems in their life, or this person has a very easy life, so that's why they're happy. So it's life experiences. That's why I put that in the first sentence. It's a little bit broader, it's more common. However, not as many people know that your personality is affected by biology or genetics. Some people might know, but not everybody. So I've just used the information from this question to make our first two general sentences. Our next thing we need to talk about is the thesis. So, by understanding chemicals in the brain called neurotransmitters, doctors are able to understand and treat people with personality disorders such as impulsivity, emotional reactivity, and eccentricity. What I'm doing here is I'm telling you my thesis, right? Understanding brain chemistry helps doctors work with people who have personality disorders. I'm changing a few of the words or a little bit of the sentence structure so that it's not exactly the same as the essay question, but it's the same idea, right? I'm also giving you 1, 2, 3 things here, right? This is to help the reader know that you're probably going to have 3 body paragraphs. Another thing you could do is you could say, and treat people with 3 specific personality disorders. You could just put the number 3 in there. You don't have to write out the names. Either is fine. Okay, so that's our introduction. Any questions that you want to ask about that? No? It's okay? All right. Next paragraph, body number 1. First, researchers have noticed a connection. Sorry, I should stop. Do you want to have some time to copy down?
Maybe we can look it after.
Okay, or take pictures. That's good. Yes, move much faster. First, researchers have noticed a connection between the personality disorder called impulsivity and brain chemistry. This is my topic sentence. I'm telling you that there is a connection between impulsivity and brain chemistry. My whole paragraph is going to talk about this, impulsivity and what's happening in the brain. Reading number 1, but that's actually not true. It should say, reading 2. Okay? Reading 2 claims. This is something that is going to help you get more marks. If you say, in reading 2, the author says, or reading 2 states, or according to reading 2, that's going to help you get a higher mark. So reading 2 claims that by measuring the level of prolactin in people's blood before and after they take fenfluramine, scientists have found that people who are impulsive have irregularities with the release and uptake of the neurotransmitter called serotonin. What I want you to do, because there's many vocabulary words in there that are difficult, I don't even know what half of them mean, because they're scientific words. I want you to look, though, at chart 6 and chart 7. And look at the impulsivity and see if you can find, where did I get this information? So does everyone see that? That the first part of this sentence, the measuring levels of prolactin, I'm taking that from question 7. And that's this information here. And I'm just changing the grammar a little bit so that I'm not copying it exactly, but it's very similar. Okay, so reading 2 claims that by measuring the level of prolactin in people's blood before and after they take fenfluramine, where do I get the second part of that sentence? Scientists have found that people who are impulsive have irregularities with the release and uptake of the neurotransmitter called serotonin. Look at chart 6. If you remember our answers in chart 6, impulsivity, the middle box, our answer was abnormalities in the release and uptake of serotonin. So that is what the problem is. The first half of this sentence is talking about how do doctors understand this. So they measure phenfluramine. And by measuring this, what connection is there to the personality disorder? Well, scientists have found that people who are impulsive have a problem with something called serotonin. So I'm just using the information that we were given in the reading from chart 7 and from chart 6 to make that sentence. The last part, or sorry, not the last part, the next sentence, this causes them to act without thinking, are irritable, get into fights, have poor relationships, and often abuse drugs or alcohol. Where do I get this information? Good. Chart 6, right? So I'm describing people who have this personality disorder. What are some details about the disorder? My concluding sentence is doctors are now treating patients who are impulsive with drugs, because our research question was asking us, how does it help them to help these patients? So now that they understand what's happening in the brain, they can give the patients prescriptions or drugs to solve the problem. Okay, so that's all that I'm doing, is I'm using chart 7 information, chart 6 information, chart 6 information, and making my own topic sentence and concluding sentence. Same thing for the next paragraph. So this body's 2 paragraphs. We're talking about the emotional reactivity or sensitivity. Second, scientists have observed a link between the personality disorder called emotional reactivity or sensitivity and the chemicals in the brain. In reading 2, again that should be a 2, it states that through measurement of the level of growth hormone in people's blood before and after they are given clonidine, that's the information that's in chart 7. Researchers have found that people who are emotionally reactive or sensitive have overactive no-read-brain systems. That is the information that is from chart 6 in the middle. So I'm taking what is the method used, what is the problem, and putting that into a sentence.
What is what?
This word here?
Before system, yes.
Don't worry about it. I have no idea. It's some system in the brain, okay? It's a medical term for something that's going on in your brain. So it's a chemical reaction, but I don't know any more about it than that. So all that I'm doing though is I'm taking the answer that they gave us. Yeah, so I'm taking how do we measure it, chart 7, plus what is the problem, chart 6, and I'm putting that into a sentence. So don't worry if you don't know what the vocabulary is. You shouldn't know what these words are unless you are a pre-med student or you have a medical background. Then you might know. Yes, yes, you would learn this if you go to medical school. But otherwise you don't need to know this, what it means. As long as you understand that people who have